Well, let me tell you something, brother.
Snort, snort, snort.
Hogan. Drip.
Snort, snort.
I got the drip. Go.
Good morning, everyone. Phil here, and welcome to the Level 1 Podcast. Welcome to my final consecutive streaming day of the week and the final day of the month. Today is Wednesday, January 31st, 2024. I hope I find you all well this morning. I will start off with a statement. Basically, I've been stressed out lately. I know I have been. For many different reasons, some of which are public, some are not. All right?
I can't stand that he constantly does this. Every time that he gets on stream and lashes out at his viewers because he's personally stressed out, whether it be for financial reasons or things behind the scene, he seems to do one of these segments. And the only thing that it ever makes me think of is an abusive spouse-style situation. Because he understands what he did was wrong, but he's not actually going to change his behavior. He's not going to go out of his way to make sure that it doesn't happen again. He's just going to fake apologize on stream because he knows that he was in the wrong. But he's going to make sure to explain to you exactly why and make sure that you understand the circumstances of why he hit you. Why he was yelling at you. This is a 41-year-old man who has no emotional regulation, or at least not enough to know that he's not supposed to be lashing out at the very supporters that are paying his bills month after month.
There's been stuff going on in my life, both here on the streams that you're well aware of, because I've made you well aware of it, as well as stuff going on in my private life, and it stressed me out recently, everything combined at once. It's like we've been talking about recently. When it rains, it pours. It's not just, here's a few things that happen over time, so they're easy to handle. No, instead it just has to be everything, all at once, right thrown in your face, and somehow you're supposed to juggle all of it and deal with all of it all at the same time, right?
Yes, absolutely, DSP, because that's what being an adult is actually about. That's what separates the men from the boys. Being able to juggle all of the things that are happening in your real life while simultaneously going to work and still doing the things that you need to do in your day-to-day life, despite everything that's going on. I'm not saying that it's an easy thing to do. A lot of people struggle with it. But you consistently have these freak-out rage moments anytime you're under any amount of stress at all. And the reality is you have far less stress in your life than most people do, because you don't even actually have to work a real job. Most people have schedules and bosses and coworkers and work that needs to be done to contend with in their real life. But you're sat at home playing video games. So you would think that without having that added stress in your life that you would be pretty much cool as a cucumber and be able to deal with all of the other things that go on in real life. But that's just not the case for you. You crack under any sort of pressure. And inevitably when you crack, your dents feel the wrath of Adolf Pigler, because he rules with an iron fist. And it just shows how emotionally immature you are, because as an adult, you should understand that you shouldn't be taking your frustration out on people that had nothing to do with the problems to begin with. And again, I know that's an easy thing to do, to take it out on people who don't deserve it, but that's why I said that it shows your emotional immaturity, because grown, mature adults shouldn't be doing that. They should understand that you should treat people with respect that had nothing to do with it.
And honestly, one of the reasons why this month I decided against going forward with the documentary about myself, that's one of the major reasons. Is already I've got so much going on, so much on my plate, that I didn't see how realistically I was going to be able to handle all of that stuff, plus take on all of the added burden of trying to properly do this documentary, which, let's be honest, had to have been done properly, because if it wasn't, that was not just going to only, affect me, but you, the viewers, as well. I realize that we are a community, all right?
Of course, this wouldn't be a fake Phil apology if he didn't try and invoke some sort of sympathy by bringing in his community. Because DSP obviously cares so much about his community. That's why he's super happy that all of them have memberships that they can benefit from. That's why he lets everybody talk about things that they're interested in his chat, even if they're unrelated to the gameplay. That's why he's harbored a community that is very friendly and has tons of jokes for the community to enjoy. That's why when they recommend him something or give him a piece of information, he instantly trusts everything that they say, great because he loves his community and they would never do him wrong, of course. Sound good? Sounds good to me. And by the way, God agrees.
And basically we're in a situation where anything that happens on these streams can affect anyone in this community, right? So I get that, you know, and I'm learning, and I'm a human who gets really stressed out sometimes. And so I just want to start off today apologizing for any stress that I may have relayed onto you in the last week. That's on me for being nervous, for being, like I said, at my wit's end for various different reasons. And again, it's not all stuff that we've talked about on stream. There's other stuff going on as well. In life, for me anyway, the thing that ultimately makes me feel the worst is when something is going wrong and I have absolutely nothing I can do about it, right?
Part of me wants to say that that's because DSP is a control freak. He wants to have power over everything that goes on in his life, and when he feels powerless, that's when he's upset the most. That's why he does rule his chat with an iron fist. That's why he has these super secret discords that only he is in charge of. That's why he doesn't have a large moderation team on his streams. That's probably one of the reasons that he dropped out of the documentary, because he wasn't going to have as much say in the documentary as he might have originally thought. But while DSP is absolutely a control freak, it is simultaneously only natural that when things are out of your control, you do feel a little helpless and can be frustrated with them. I think that is a normal human being style reaction. Maybe not to the extent that DSP is feeling it, because I definitely would not be behaving in the manner that he does, especially on stream. Jesus Christ, dude, please help yourself. But yes, to be as fair as possible to DSP, I guess I can kind of understand why he would be frustrated. But that's really as far as I'm willing to go with that.
There's one thing, if stuff's, you know, happening around you, like, all right, let's take action, right? Let's fix this, let's fix this, let's do this, let's do this, let's adjust on the fly and fix things and make them better. But sometimes in life, and especially as you get older, you will realize this more and more, as is my experience. There are things that are inevitable. There are things that are destined to happen that you can't stop, all right? And when they happen, it sucks. And it's one thing if it's one thing happening, but when you have a series of events that continue over the course of shit, for me, it's been like now about a year and a half, and the stress levels just keep becoming exponentially more and more and more and more, it wears you down.
And again, that's totally natural. Anybody under any amount of stress for an extended period of time is going to feel worn down at some point. But that's usually the time that a normal style person would take a step back and either take a brief break or a vacation from the stressors in their life, or come to grips with the situation that they find themselves in and just find some sort of acceptance and peace in that alone. Because sometimes the best way to come to grips with a situation is to take a step back and acknowledge that this is actually the one time that you can say your favorite line, DSP, that there's nothing that you could do. But the important part of acknowledging that is that you just have to move on and deal with it, not continue to go on and on about it like you do.
You know, and for a while there, I feel like I was actually doing real good. Like, I feel like over the second half of 2023 and into this new year, like, there was good positivity and momentum. Admittedly, early on last year, there was a lot of stress because of bad decisions that I made. But I feel like I adjusted that. And then with the release of something like Street Fighter 6, which reinvigorated my efforts to want to play games competitively, and getting a new crowd of viewership back, and continuing on with all these different projects and things I've been doing along the year and adjusting, I felt like everything was going smoothly for as much as could be done. You know what I'm saying?
You felt that everything was going smoothly for as much as could be done? You know what I'm saying. I'll keep it real with you, Chief. I have no idea what the hell that even means. I cannot be convinced that that is a proper sentence. But I do think it's absolutely hilarious that he's sitting there talking about all of the positivity that he was experiencing at the end of 2023, because he course corrected from the beginning, you know, when he did the side scrollers interview. But as someone who keeps up with DSP every single day because I do this, I know for a fact that the end of 2023 was just as miserable miserable as the beginning for the guy. I mean, we got multiple hour-long rants about Turkey Tom when that documentary came out that he did, you know, A Decade of Failure. Are we considering the Comcast saga a positive now? What about the sickness arc at the end of October where we had to cancel the Halloween marathon? Was that positive? What about that time that you got robbed, DSP, in broad daylight in the middle of the store? Is that a positive thing? This is a guy who gets on stream every single day and tells you how bad his life is and how miserable he is and everything is going wrong. But then when it's convenient for him, he wants to sit here and tell you how everything was just awesome, but now it sucks. Well, which one was it, DSP? Were you having fun back then and it was super positive, or were you absolutely miserable the way that you were portraying it in real time? I mean, the guy can't even be consistent on how he felt about a situation. I guess the best example of that is right after the Side-Scrollers interview. But you'd think that he'd at least be able to be consistent about getting robbed, dude.
And then, you know, then things all happen at once and everything explodes and everything hits the fan. And it's like, now what do you do to fix it? Oh, you just can't. There's nothing you can do. Oh, that's great, you know, because, you know, it's only my life. You know, it's not like this is a video game. It's like, oh shit, you know, I'm playing and things are really going bad this run. That's okay. I'll just respawn with my next life. Oops. Oh, this is real life. There's no respawning of a next life, right? You just have to deal with what's going on and somehow make do.
What a dumb example and a huge waste of time. Anybody on the planet who isn't brain dead understands that there's no second chances in life and you get the one. But that's part of life. You have to just deal with the things that come your way, and you know that you don't really get second chances on any of it. You just have to make the best out of a bad situation, but DSP is sitting here complaining like everybody isn't also living their life and dealing with their own things. And I get sometimes in your life when you're having a hard time of it that you want to talk to somebody and you want to vent, but your stream chat is not the place to do that. Complaining to your dents every single day is not a good look. This is why you're supposed to have friends and family that you can lean on and use as a natural support system in your life. But that would actually require him to have some sort of interaction with somebody other than Cat, and he can't be bothered to do that. Not to quote 672, but too much work. And we all know how the guy feels about anything that he would consider work.
And that's kind of what's been going on with me recently. Because some people have even said, they've come by streams and said, you seem like you're stressed again. It seems like you're at wit's end and you're angry and you're snapping and stuff like that. And the truth is that I'm in a unique situation where I'm put under a microscope constantly, and unfortunately I'm not allowed to say and do things that other people can do, right? Like any other person can make an observation about something and be like, hey, that's kind of like me. I see myself in that. That's pretty crazy. It's like fourth wall breaking. I'm playing a game and I see a connection to my real life. And most people can say that and that's fine. But if I say that, you have 20,000 jackasses who then spin it into something like, oh, he's egotistical, he's this, he's that. What are you talking about? It's a simple factual observation that any human should be able to make, but I'm not allowed to make it because I'm the devil, right? I'm the villain.
The thing that everybody took issue with, including your own Dent King Be Cruel, was that you were just like the character in the game and facing the same persecution that he was. That you would have thought that it was based on your real life. And nobody was calling you egotistical, at least from what I seen, before you started saying it yourself. People were comparing you to a meme though, and that's where you took the most issue, because again, for some reason, you find every single meme to be a negative thing on your life. And somebody pointed this out to me in a comment. I apologize, I don't remember your username, or I would have given you a shout out, but I genuinely believe that DSP, because he doesn't understand memes, thinks that some detractor online made that meme about him and that King Be Cruel was referencing a direct detractor meme. That's pure speculation, but given DSP's knowledge of how memes work on the internet, I wouldn't be surprised if he was that dumb about it. But it was absolutely cringe how insistent you were that this fictional character living a fictional life that really has nothing to do with yours when compared side by side is just like you, dude.
So I can't just do normal stuff. I'm not allowed, right? You know, just like everyone else who says dumb stuff like, oh, the reason why you're so stressed out is because you put all of the effort of your business on the fact that it's a crowdfunded business, right? And if you diversified out and you did more than just crowdfunding and you found sponsorships and things like that, you know, you'd be fine, which is completely false. You know, I can't get sponsorships because of these people who ruin everything for me. There's a reason why I'm not in the Twitch partner program, and it's not me, okay? There's a reason why Teespring dropped me from their merch store after having me in there for over 5 years and setting me up themselves, knowing well who I was, okay?
But DSP, I thought that you didn't want sponsorships. I thought that you were happy not being a paid shill. At least that's what you told us every single time somebody brought up on stream in your chat that you should be getting sponsorships. You immediately shot them down and told them that you were happy not having them. But now, just like always, we're flipping the script once again. And now we can't get sponsorships, and that's the real reason that we don't have them. So were you telling the truth then, or are you telling the truth now? And it's bold of you to claim that the reason that you're not in the Twitch partnership anymore, it has nothing to do with you, when you've said yourself on your own streams that the reason you're no longer a partner is because trolls behind the scenes sent Twitch a dossier of hate of a bunch of things that you did in fact do in the past that you no longer do. So it's just a lie to say it has nothing to do with you, when in fact it has everything to do with you and all of the things that you used to do, in fact. And it's the same story when it comes to Teespring. It doesn't matter that previously they wanted you on the platform, and we're so happy to have you that they designed some of your first shirts for you. Because just like Twitch, when they saw this dossier of hate, they immediately decided to drop you and no longer have you on the platform. And this dossier of hate that I'm referring to is something that nobody has ever seen. DSP only heard about it behind the scenes through his flying monkeys. He's recently claimed that it's on that agricultural website, but nobody has produced any sort of evidence that that's true. You would think that if it existed, that the trolls would have found it by now, because that would be huge.
I don't have or get the opportunities everybody else does because I'm in a unique situation. I think Mike Klum actually said it best, all right? He literally said to me, in my early research about you, to figure out who you were and everything, as I started to look deeper into things, I realized that you have likely one of the biggest troll communities on the internet. Bigger than other people who he's dealt with, much bigger. Which is hilarious because you see some of the other stories and things. It's like, oh, woe is me, woe is me. Yeah, but you don't even have half the fucking hardships, you know, of other people. Woe is you, right?
I have to acknowledge that the troll and detractor community around DSP is rather large. It's nowhere near the size of Christian trolls, but that's because Christian has been around forever and is one of the most legendary lolcows on the internet. But because the detractor community around DSP is rather large does not necessarily mean he has more hardships than other lolcows. Because I believe that the Wings trolling community is much smaller than the DSP trolling community, and they go above and beyond when it comes to trolling that guy. Of course, no beef with these Wings trolls. Y'all got your guy, I got my guy, we're all good. But they put Wings through the ringer. DSP doesn't get half of that shit done to him. When Wings got a side hustle as a DoorDasher, his trolls put a stop to that immediately. But here DSP is making a good ass living day in and day out, still streaming on YouTube. He's still drinking and he's still pulling. So how dare he say that he's got all of these hardships that other lolcows don't have simply because of the size of his detractor community, when the reality is that he's still making a living doing this and has everything that he needs and then some.
So basically with me, all right, there's just so much going on. There's really no ways to fix the problems that are happening, and what ends up happening is that all that gets pent up inside of me and it affects me in a bad way, and then I go back to my old ways and I do things that are stupid and I bother you guys with things every stream that I shouldn't bother you with, and it is what it is, right? So there's not much you can do about that besides recover from it and learn from it and try to regroup and try not to make the same mistakes for the 27th time, right? So today is going to be a chill day, all right?
But like I said earlier in the video when he just addressed, this is a reoccurring thing. DSP isn't learning from these situations. When he has these rage moments, when he lashes out at his community, he is not taking anything away from it. Sure, he might be hitting a reset button. He might come back on the next stream and do these empty apologies like he is right now and say that he's going to try and be better and learn. But we all know that the reality is that's not going to happen. It's only a matter of time before he does it again. And then we're just going to be in this infinite cycle where DSP freaks out once again and then does another empty apology. And his dents enable this. That's why I don't really have any sympathy for them, because they get what they pay for. They get what they deserve out here. When you enable this guy to continue to act like this, continue to treat you like this, how am I gonna feel bad for you? You're actively giving him money so that he can yell at you. All I can hope for is that they break out of the pygnosis at some point and go support somebody else.
Today is going to be a completely chill day. All right? It's just going to be me relaxing with you guys, enjoying some laid-back games. Not even a fighting game, which is a good thing. You know, I like Tekken a lot. Right now, I think it's a superb fighting game, and I'm having a ton of fun learning the game and getting better at it. But it's a stressful game. When you're playing a fighting game like that, that's like adrenaline pumping, nerves on edge, and you need your nerves on edge. That's the thing. You need to be able to react and do things, and you know, constantly a million things going through your head at once, right? So, and by the way, I don't know why Neckbeard Reviews is typing paragraphs in the chat. There's no way I can read them. I'm doing a show. You gotta love it. People are like just typing their heart out in the chat. Like, you see I'm talking to the camera, right? Like, I can't read what you're saying. Anyway.
Well, since he wanted to bring it up and he decided to laugh at it, let's go ahead and read the paragraph that's in the chat that he couldn't be bothered to read. We are already here. And he did do a couple of longer chat messages back to back, so I'm going to go ahead and read all of them with you right here, right now. He says, "Hi DSP, I want to give you constructive criticism. Honestly, I myself have been in a time of my life where I was very much down and took it out on a lot of innocent people. So I know when I say you are letting everything in your life that's negative control you and you are making things worse. When support isn't happening, it's a result of your actions towards your loyal supporters. You were spent emotionally. You need to take a break with your wife, even a staycation. This isn't a healthy lifestyle to keep up, and it shows. Now you're gonna read this and tell me I don't know what I'm talking about, or I'm a moron, and swear at me. But I'm just being real with you, 100%. You have to make a sacrifice to make healthy choices for you and your family and your loyal viewers." So now that I've read all of his chats together, let's go ahead and run back how DSP reacted to it.
And by the way, I don't know why Neckbeard Reviews is typing paragraphs in the chat. There's no way I can read them. I'm doing a show. You gotta love it. People are like just typing their heart out in the chat. Like, you see I'm talking to the camera, right? Like, I can't read what you're saying. Anyway.
So I guess Neckbeard Reviews was actually wrong. He didn't get called stupid or a moron or get told that he doesn't know what he's talking about, because DSP couldn't even be bothered to actually read the chats. And while there is a high probability that this is some LARPer trying to give DSP real criticism in a form that he might actually acknowledge, for all DSP knows, this is a genuine fan that's trying to help him, and he just immediately blew him off without reading the chats to begin with. But this is the guy who's always going on about his community and how he doesn't want to hurt them and he wants to listen to all of their feedback. But someone gives him real legitimate criticism that doesn't in any way sound trollish or detractorish at all. But not only does he not read it, but he also derides the person for even wasting their time typing that many letters in the chat.
So, I apologize for any stress that I caused this week. Please know that it wasn't intentional. It was because of all the other things going on in my life at this point. And it sucks that, you know, things are just happening all at once. It's a perfect storm of crap, and I got to deal with it, and I got to get through it. And the thing is, you know I'll get through it. You know, I have been through this kind of stuff before. I've gotten through it before. It's not the end of the world. At the same time, it's just incredibly stressful that this is the millionth time that stuff happens that's not in my control. And again, I'm powerless to do anything about it. And that's what drives me nuts the most, you know.
Yes, and that's the most interesting part about this DSP, is this is not the first time you've been through something like this. This is a reoccurring thing for you all of the time. You always have these stressors in your life and you always react the exact same way eventually. It's just amazing that you never actually learn anything from doing this again and again. But I guess I have to big ups and acknowledge that he actually said that he apologizes, because that's more than I actually thought that he was going to do. I really thought we were going to get through the entire segment without him actually apologizing or saying sorry in any form. I thought he was just going to continue to pig-splain how there's stress in real life until everybody forgot why they were even here.
Because as much as I would like to say, I know what I'll do, I'll adjust all my content and I'll try to make it better per feedback, which I've done. New thumbnails, new titling system for my videos, right? Bringing back content that's been lost from the internet for years and making a whole channel to make that presentable to you in a modern format, which you've wanted, right? Keeping shows alive that very well could have died because of trolling activity, but still able to keep them alive because of the help of you guys and on-the-fly thinking. I'm doing my best to juggle all of this and maintain sanity, you know? It's a lot. on my plate.
And this is why I always say that there's no way that DSP could go and work a real job anymore. It's not simply because he's been out of the workforce for too long, but because he's actually incapable of handling stress or doing any basic tasks that a normal style human could do. All he has to do every day is show up, be as entertaining as he possibly can, and play some video games. I'm not saying he has to be the most entertaining content creator on the platform, because he's more than proven by now that that doesn't have to be the case for you to make a good living on this site. But he manages to stress himself out doing the simplest things that he does actually do. Things like making his own schedule, deciding what video games that he's going to play. These are things that normal content creators can just do, but for DSP it's an entire production where he needs feedback and he's got to think about it. And he sits there and stresses himself out about the pros and cons between playing this game and running his stream at this time. I just don't know how he can make streaming and content creation look so miserable. And if he can make that look miserable, I couldn't imagine how bad he would be at a normal job.
Because it's not just that. If that was just what I was doing in my life right now, if that was it, that would be enough. But the fact that outside of this office, I've got a private life and I've got other things going on that you guys are not aware of at all. Multiple other things happening that I'm juggling there, and it's incredibly stressful, you know? And it sucks. So it is what it is. You know, I got to get through it. And I want to, again, let you know that if I'm on a stream and I seem overly stressed, right? It's probably a combination of a million factors. It's not just what's going on in that moment, right? But you have to understand that, sadly, there's just people out there that are out to get me for no good reason. Like, it's not because I've hurt them. It's not because I've done heinous acts on the internet. It's because the internet has attached themselves to my ass as a giant pulsating, infected hemorrhoid, and it's about to burst, and they just stay there and it won't go away because they found that they get pleasure or money or popularity by literally hurting me.
And it's not a DSP segment without him talking about hemorrhoids or scat or eating shit out of his ass or, you know, all of the things that DSP loves to talk about. Because he can't just call detractors parasites or leeches or anything like that. It's always got to be something just grotesque. And he always paints detractors in this light where they're only in it for popularity or money. When the reality is, I know a lot of detractors, not just the content creating style, but the normal style as well. They're just here because they find the guy interesting, and people like talking about and discussing things that they find interesting, even if it's interesting in a weird, wacky, kind of bad way. But if you ask DSP, there's nothing interesting about him other than his gameplay, so why would you want to sit here and talk about him, even though he's an absolute freak show weirdo on stream every single day, non-stop?
And so I have to deal with that on a daily basis. Imagine that there's a group of people out there that are all anonymous, but they can get away with just twisting the knife further into you. And every day that they do it, they get something pleasurable out of it, and you get hurt, and you can't stop them. There's nothing you can do about that, right? It's pretty bad. And there's not much I can do about it, all right? So it's life, and I want to get better, meaning I want to not be putting that towards you guys, you know, if I can avoid it. So it's this simple. You're not going to hear it, you know, from me. I'm just going to move forward positively. I'm just going to relax with you guys on streams. We're going to enjoy games. We're going to have fun discussions. I'm not going to be bringing up the stressful bullshit. There's no point.
Well, I'm glad to hear that we're moving on positively and that we're no longer going to be talking about this. Very cool.
Because again, you know, as much as I've tried to affect the situation in some way, none of my efforts have helped. Like nothing. Literally nothing that I've said, that I've done, that I felt has helped. So why am I going to sit here and why am I going to be so pent up, angry about it, right? When it's time to basically just let it go and be more reserved, and whatever happens, happens. Right?
Yeah, I agree, DSP. Please move on positively, quit bringing it up, say your apologies, actually mean it, actually learn from the situation, and again, move on positively. We just went over this. I thought you just agreed to that, and that's what we were doing, but yet we're still here talking about it. And now that I'm looking at it, there's quite a bit left in this video, so what the hell are we gonna talk about?
I think that's the better way to think about it, is sometimes in life there's things you cannot control, and you just gotta let go rather than be so angry about a situation or so try to be control freak about it. Sometimes you just can't fix it. So let it ride and see what happens. In life, generally, in my life, when stuff like this has happened and I just let it go, well, not really just let it go, but over time, things just get better. So I'm just going to let it go and hopefully things get better. Rather than sit here and harp on shit all day, every day. There's no point. All right?
DSP, I'll agree with you one more time, but that's the last one you're getting. I don't know how you can sit there and say that you're not going to talk about it and you're just going to move on positively 3 times in a row back to back and waste everybody's time. Because to me, when you bring something up 3 times in a row, it kind of seems like you want to harp on it. It kind of seems like you're doing the exact opposite of the very thing that you're saying right now. So like I said, I'll agree with you one more time, but please move on and quit being disrespectful about everybody else's time. Go to your next segment, please.
So I've said my piece. I apologize for being so stressed this last week. You know, to anyone who felt like I wasn't myself or you're offended or something, well, you know, I'm a human and I make mistakes, and I'll continue to make those mistakes. You know, all I can do is finally acknowledge when I make said mistakes and say I'll move on from focusing on that stuff every single day, right?
I gave you 3 chances, and of course you still managed to screw it up, so way to go. And what an absolute scumbag to tell people, if you are offended, if you didn't like the things that I say, well, I'm only human, I'm gonna continue to make those mistakes. So you just acknowledge that you're not actually going to learn anything, and you're gonna continue to yell and treat your dents like shit when you're upset. Why would they bother sticking around? Anybody with half a brain cell could see right through that empty-ass apology. If you ever hear somebody say that they're only human during an apology, it's not a real apology. Using the fact that you're a human-style being as a reason as to why you did a thing that you did is just a cop-out and bullshit. It's just a way for DSP to try and weasel his way out of being held accountable for a shitty thing that he did to one of his long-term fans. What an absolute spineless scumbag.
You guys don't want to come to a stream every day to hear about my income. You guys don't want to come to the stream every day to hear about this problem or that problem with memberships and shit. You don't care. You're just here to have fun with me, right? And to have a good time with whatever gameplay that I'm doing. And I'm grateful to those who come by every day regardless, right? To hang out with me and have a good time. Like, that's what you're here for, right? As I've said many times over the years, you are here to unplug from your own lives and hopefully have some good time with me and forget about your own stresses, correct? That's really what you're here for, ultimately, right? When you unplug, you don't want to then go to someone's stream and hear about more stressful bullshit. Right?
Yeah, and the detractors have been telling you this was the situation for a very long time now, DSP. How many times have detractors specifically said that nobody wants to come to your streams and get a business meeting, doesn't want to go into the boardroom meeting and hear about how support was low and the tips weren't what you thought that they were going to be? How many times have detractors acknowledged the fact that you can't go to another streamer's stream and see them talking about their taxes or their back taxes or their condo dues or their bankruptcy or their foreclosure? I mean, I'm sure that somebody out there is also talking about those things, but they are not a streamer that you want to emulate. Nobody wants to come to a stream and hear about how financially poor you're doing because you've decided to stay home and play video games all day instead of getting a job where you actually do something productive, instead of getting a job where you actually provide a service that people are willing to pay money for. That's why people have been calling you an e-beggar for years, DSP, because you get online and you just sit there and beg and nobody wants to hear that shit. But I guess now, 13 years into his content creation career, he's finally learned. Not that it'll matter in a couple of days because he's gonna go right back to the same shit he was doing before, but hey, at least he's learned it for today.
So, I mean, initially, with this whole thing, I think, of course, as they say, hindsight is 20/20.
Wait, but DSP, I thought you said that hindsight was 50/50. Did you lie to me about that too?
Initially, what I probably should have done, which I wouldn't have known this because the first time I've gone through something like this, is just mention the problem, say it exists. If it further affects things, I'll let you know, and here's how we fix it. Then we fix it. So, for example, I fixed the problem when it came to the React channel, right? The problem has been resolved, and we just did a React show on Sunday that went down without a hitch, correct? So, rather than focusing on it and talking about it endlessly, that's it. All right, I mentioned it, we fixed it, that's it, move on, right?
Yeah, that would have been the smart thing to do, DSP. Or in all reality, you shouldn't have mentioned it at all and not brought any attention to it. You shouldn't have given that person the spotlight that they were looking for. You shouldn't have given them the attention that they were seeking. You've said yourself that the reason that people troll you is because they're seeking attention, yet when they troll you, you decide to give them that very attention that they're seeking. It's just counterproductive and has never made any sense. That's why I freak out every time you give a detractor a shout out, because you know that that's not a good idea. You have to know that. Also, I'm still waiting on mine, so if you could hurry up.
And that's really what, you know, I should have done, rather than just constantly talking about it, constantly asking for more of this and that and getting everyone all riled up about bullshit, and then people coming here on the streams and getting all frustrated because why is Phil in this mood every day now? Why is Phil stressed out and this and that? You know what I mean? Yeah. So, like I said, today I'm not going to be talking about any of that stuff. I just want to hang out with you guys.
Yeah, you guys remember when he said that same exact thing 5 minutes ago and then continued to say the same thing on loop about how he wasn't talking about it anymore? Yeah, I can't believe how stupid I was for actually believing him. I was a sucker. I was so foolish.
I want things to get back to normal here, all right, and more relaxing times. All right, enough of you two idiots. Get the fuck out of the chat. Seriously, you two idiots just got to sit there. Blah, blah, blah. Shut up. I'm trying to tell you I want to relax. All right? I just want to relax and have a good time. Oh, let's be in the chat. Let's try to rile Phil up. No, you're not going to do that today. You're gone. Thanks. So, yeah, that's it. And it's funny because normally on a podcast, right, I'd be like, okay, we have all these topics. I came to the podcast today. I don't have anything to talk about. What I want to do is just go through the schedule for the week.
Of course he wants to go through the schedule. That's the only thing he ever wants to talk about is the goddamn schedule. But I love that even during his empty apology segment where he apologizes for lashing out at people and treating them like shit, he then goes on to finish the segment by treating two people in his chat like shit. So big ups for that. He couldn't even maintain this fake sorrow for an extended period of time. It literally didn't even get out of the segment. But that's going to be it for today. Of course, another big shout out to Snort Hogan for the clip in this one. As always, I appreciate it, brother. Thank you. Shout out everybody who watched the video, especially if you made it this far. A special big ups to all of the members. I appreciate all of you guys. Thank you so much. I love you. But hopefully I'll catch all of you guys in the next video. But until then, make sure that you check out other detractor channels and dive deeper into that. Snortags.